Hello guys, welcome to part 4 of the 2019 Rome analysis. This is part of the video series I'm making where we will discuss the tactics that both Nadal and Djokovic used during the final. If you haven't watched the previous parts, I'll leave you links of those videos in the description below. As for these videos, we will end discussing the most relevant tactics of the second set. During the last video, we started talking about the tactics of the second set. In particular, we talked about Novak's serve placement and the tactics he used to return Nadal's serve. Now, it's time to talk about the tactics they used during rallies. Discussing this is very important, especially when we compare the amount of rally points both Nadal and Djokovic won between the first and second set. When we do this comparison, we see that the first set, Nadal won 78% of the rallies. However, when we take a look at the second set, we see how that number decreased to 42%. This tells us that Novak not only improved his serve and return numbers, but also certain tactics that allow him to get the upper hand during rallies. These tactics are the ones we will discuss today. When we talk about the rally tactics they used during the first set, we saw that one aspect that was key for Nadal was the placement of his shots. We came to two conclusions. The first one was that Nadal left the ball with less frequency in zones I and F. These are two zones that players usually try to avoid because they represent short balls and the opponents can take advantage of those shots. The second conclusion was that Nadal also got a better use of the clay court characteristics by aiming Novak's backhand with more angle. This last conclusion became clear when we compared Nadal's percentage for zones K and L, and Novak's percentage for zones B and C. Now let's compare these numbers with the numbers of the second set. During the second set, we see an improvement from Novak in both aspects. First, he left fewer short balls, and second, when he tried to aim Nadal's backhand, he used more angles than depth on his shots. So far, so good. This time, however, looking at the placement gives us more questions than answers. You see, when we do this comparison with Nadal's placement between the first and second set, we see that Nadal also increased the frequency of zones K and L. So, if using angles on clay court is important, how is it that Nadal's results got worse during the second set, even though he increased that frequency? The reason for this lies on Nadal's cross-court versus down-the-line ratio when he tried to aim Djokovic's backhand. In other words, if we take every shot that landed between zones I and J, we can get a very good estimate of how many times Nadal tried to aim Djokovic's backhand. During the first set, Nadal aimed these zones 73 times, and from these 73 shots, 40 were cross-court shots and 30 were down-the-line shots. That means that most of Nadal's attempts of aiming Djokovic's backhand were cross-court shots. However, during the second set, Nadal aimed Novak's backhand 86 times, but only 36 were cross-court shots. That means that during the second set, most of Nadal's attempts of aiming Djokovic's backhand were down-the-line shots. Now, let's take a look once again at Nadal's general placement comparison between the first and second set. The reason this increase of frequency becomes irrelevant is because it doesn't represent an increase in cross-court angles by Nadal. In fact, this growth represents some good news for Novak. What it meant was that Novak started getting the upper hand during the cross-court rallies between his forehand and Nadal's backhand. Nadal tried to escape this type of rallies by hitting backhands down the line, and because of this, his numbers for these zones increased. This becomes clear when we analyze in depth the 8 points Novak won during rallies. Here's the thing, putting all these points on the same screen at once allowed me to see a pattern that explains 7 of these 8 points. This pattern consisted on Novak trying to take the advantage of the point before aiming Nadal's forehand. In order for this to work, he built the point by aiming Nadal's backhand first. In particular, he focused on hitting those cross-court angles we just talked. These angles pushed Nadal to the sides of the court and opened a big space for Novak so he could aim Nadal's forehand later. There were some variations about how he created the space. Sometimes he pushed Nadal to the side with a cross-court forehand. Sometimes Nadal himself got into trouble by running around his backhand and then hitting inside-in forehands, since this gave Novak the space he needed. There were also some variations about how Novak aimed that big space later, but the principle of trapping Nadal on his backhand side and then aiming the empty space remained the same throughout the 7 points. With everything we have talked here and the previous videos, we have covered the most important aspect of the first and second set. The only thing left to do is talk about the third set, which is what we will do on the next couple of videos. But before we say goodbye, I would like to ask your opinion about this video. Do you agree with this analysis? Do you have a different opinion? Please let me know in the comment section. I also wanted to let you know that I created a Facebook group for those of you that want to talk about strategies or share your experiences during your matches. If you want to join the group, I'll leave you a link on the video description below. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon. My name is Jorge, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.